Most people never fail because they lack potential. They fail because they surrender right before the finish line. They stand inches from gold, but they put down the pickaxe. They walk away from the mine, believing the treasure was never there. History is filled with these stories. Men and women who had everything they needed to win, except the one thing that matters most, the will to keep going when the road becomes unbearable. Think of the prospector R.U. Darby, who gave up digging after weeks of backbreaking work, never realizing he was 3 feet from one of the richest gold veins in history. Another man took over his claim, drilled a little deeper, and struck a fortune. Darby learned his lesson. He went on to become a top life insurance salesman, but he carried that truth with him forever. Most people quit before the miracle happens. And here's the cruel irony: life often hides your greatest reward behind your greatest test. It will let the storms hit harder right before the skies clear. It will turn up the heat on your doubt just before the breakthrough. Not because it wants to punish you, but because it wants to see if you deserve what you're chasing. Success, real success, has no interest in the weak of spirit. It hides behind a locked door, and the key is endurance. The ones who keep turning the handle long after it feels pointless are the ones who find it open in the end. Thomas Edison failed more than 1,000 times before he lit the world with the incandescent bulb. 1,000 failures, not a poetic exaggeration, but a fact. Imagine the mental battle on the 900th attempt. The ridicule. The whispers. The self-doubt pounding in his skull. But he didn't stop. And when he was finally asked how it felt to fail so many times, he answered with the wisdom of a man who understood the game. I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That's the mindset of a finisher. A quitter sees failure as the end. A finisher sees failure as feedback. And feedback is gold if you keep digging. Most people quit because they've confused difficulty with impossibility. The road is long, so they assume it must be endless. The pain is sharp, so they assume it must be permanent. But history's giants, Lincoln, Ford, Carnegie, Disney, they all understood that what feels like the end is usually just a bend in the road. Lincoln lost more elections than he won before he became president. Ford went broke 5 times before creating the Model T. Disney was told he lacked imagination and was fired from a newspaper before building an empire of dreams. If they had quit when the world told them no, you wouldn't know their names today. The truth is, most people are looking for proof before they believe. They want to see the finish line before they start running. They want the guarantee before they pay the price. But the way the universe works is simple: belief comes first. Proof comes after. You plant before you harvest. You keep watering the soil even when there's nothing green breaking through. This is where most people lose. They sow for a week, and if nothing grows, they declare the ground barren. They don't realize that the miracle is already in motion beneath the surface, hidden from sight. Roots grow in silence. Progress builds in the shadows. The unseen work is still work. When the pain comes, when the doubt creeps in, when the vision feels like a distant fantasy, that's when you are closer than ever to the breakthrough. That's when most people quit. That's when you must not. Because here is the secret no one tells you. The moment you feel like you can't take another step is the exact moment the finish line begins to appear. Your greatest victory will often come right after your greatest struggle. So I ask you, will you walk away at the threshold? Will you turn back with the key in your hand, the door just inches from swinging open? Or will you hold your ground, keep swinging, keep fighting, keep believing, until the world bends under the weight of your persistence? If you quit, you'll never know how close you were. If you keep going, you'll make the distance irrelevant. You have to understand something about the world you live in: it's not built to hand you your dreams. It's built to test them. Every vision you have will be dragged through the fire to prove it's worthy of becoming real. That's why Napoleon Hill wrote that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. It's not poetic fluff, it's strategy. When you're in the storm, the wind is not there to push you off course. The wind is there to strengthen your wings, to make sure you can fly higher when the sky's clear. The problem is, most people misinterpret the storm. They think it's a sign they're on the wrong path. They think the struggle is punishment, when in reality, it's preparation. They never stop to realize, the obstacle is the path. Let me tell you something about winners, the ones who stand on the summit while others are still wandering at the base of the mountain. They have mastered the art of staying in the fight long after comfort has left the room. They've trained their mind to see difficulty not as a threat, but as confirmation that they are still moving forward. Henry Ford once said, "When everything seems to be going against you, remember that the airplane takes off against the wind, not with it." Read that again. Against the wind. Your resistance is your runway. But most people, they step off the runway before the wheels ever leave the ground. Why? Because belief is expensive. It costs you your comfort. It costs you your excuses. It costs you the luxury of blaming the world. And when the bill comes due, most would rather fold than pay the price. They forget that belief is not something you have, it's something you do. Belief is an action. It's the choice to keep going when the evidence isn't there yet. It's waking up at 5 a.m. to work on your dream while the rest of the world is sleeping. It's knocking on the 100th door when the first 99 slammed shut. You see, belief is not passive hope. Hope waits for the phone to ring. Belief makes the calls until it does. Napoleon Hill interviewed over 500 of the wealthiest, most successful people of his time, Carnegie, Rockefeller, Edison, Morgan, and he discovered something extraordinary. They all faced moments when quitting was the logical choice. When their plans were shattered, when their resources were gone, when the people closest to them doubted their sanity. But they didn't quit. They understood a truth that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Temporary defeat is not permanent failure. Temporary defeat is the training ground. It's the forge where your spirit is hammered into something unbreakable. The ones who rise from it are unstoppable because they no longer fear loss, they've lived through it and kept moving. Think about Walt Disney, rejected over 300 times by bankers who told him a cartoon mouse would never make money. Think about Colonel Sanders, who heard no over 1,000 times before someone believed in his chicken recipe. Think about Steve Jobs, fired from the very company he built, only to return years later and turn it into one of the greatest business empires in history. What do these people have in common? They refused to let the middle of the story become the end. They kept writing, even when the page was soaked in failure. The truth is, most people are not defeated by the enemy in front of them, they are defeated by the voice inside them. That whisper that says, "It's not worth it. It's taking too long. You're not good enough." The winners hear that voice too. They just don't negotiate with it. Self-discipline is the lock on that door. It's what keeps you from making permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. And discipline is not something you're born with. It's built, rep by rep, decision by decision, day by day. Every time you push through when quitting would be easier, you are laying another brick in the wall of your endurance. Every time you hold the line against your comfort zone, you are strengthening the foundation that will hold your success. This is the quiet truth about miracles. They rarely look like miracles while they're happening. They look like another early morning. Another hard conversation. Another risk that might not pay off. But the day will come when you look back and realize that all those unseen hours were the very steps that brought you to the gold. And when you finally arrive, it won't just be about the reward you've gained. It will be about the person you had to become to get there. Because in the end, the real miracle is not the fortune, the fame, or the freedom. It's the transformation of the one who refused to quit. There's a reason most people drift through life without ever touching the edges of their true potential. They never commit to a vision so powerful that quitting becomes impossible. A vague dream will never survive a brutal storm. You need a vision that burns in you like a fever, a vision so clear that you can close your eyes and see it in vivid detail. Not just the money. Not just the trophy. But the life it represents. The impact it will make. The person you will have to become to hold it in your hands. Napoleon Hill called it a definite chief aim. A single, unshakable target that absorbs your energy, commands your decisions, and becomes the axis around which your life spins. Without it, you'll drift. And drifting is the silent death of ambition. This is why most people quit. Their vision is optional. It's something they'll pursue as long as it's convenient, as long as it's fun, as long as it's working. But here's the reality: if your dream has conditions, it's not a dream, it's a wish. Winners don't operate on conditions. They operate on convictions. Ford didn't build the assembly line because it was easy. Edison didn't invent the light bulb because it was convenient. They did it because their vision left them no alternative. It was win or die trying. When your purpose is strong enough, discipline becomes natural. The man chasing the gold in the mountain doesn't complain about swinging the pickaxe, he's too focused on the treasure. The woman building her business doesn't flinch at the 14-hour days, she's too busy designing the life her future self will thank her for. And here's the beautiful paradox: the more you push, the more life pushes back with opportunities you couldn't see before. Because action is the proof of belief. You can talk about your dream all day, but the world will only start moving in your favor when you put in the work without the guarantee. That's the difference between dabblers and dominators. A dabbler waits for motivation. A dominator moves without it, and in doing so, creates it. Most people don't fail because they lack resources, they fail because they lack resourcefulness. When the first door slams shut, they stop knocking. When the plan falls apart, they stop planning. But the ones who finish, they find another door. They build another plan. They learn, they adapt, they evolve until the obstacle itself becomes part of their advantage. Purpose gives you that fuel. Without it, resistance feels like a wall. With it, resistance feels like a weight, and weights are meant to be lifted. Look at Abraham Lincoln. Before he became one of the most celebrated presidents in history, he lost his job, failed in business, lost 8 different elections, and suffered a nervous breakdown. Every loss was a test. Every defeat was another swing of the hammer against his will. But his vision for a united nation was too big to let the blows break him. Or think of Soichiro Honda, yes, the man behind the Honda Motor Company. He applied for an engineering job at Toyota and was rejected. Instead of quitting, he started his own company from a tiny workshop. Today, his name is stamped on millions of vehicles around the world. These people didn't have an easier path, they had a stronger why. And that's where your miracle hides, behind the days when the how seems impossible, but your why is still undeniable. Behind the mornings when your legs feel heavy, but your heart refuses to slow down. Behind the nights when no one is watching, no one is clapping, and you keep going anyway. Because the truth is, your purpose is not there to make the journey comfortable. It's there to make the journey worth it. And once you have that purpose, that all-consuming, fire in your bones vision, quitting stops being an option. You may get knocked down. You may get delayed. You may get bruised, broken, or betrayed. But you will not walk away. You will crawl if you must, but you will keep moving toward the gold. Because when you see the miracle before it happens, you refuse to leave before it arrives. Here's the final part of why most people quit before the miracle happens, carrying the emotional intensity to its peak and ending with a powerful cinematic conclusion. The road to your miracle will never be a straight line. It will twist. It will vanish into the fog. It will double back on itself and make you wonder if you've been walking in circles. But here is what separates the ones who win from the ones who disappear: adaptability. Life will change the terrain without warning. The plan you wrote on day 1 will be torn apart by day 50. And the ones who survive aren't the ones who cling to the old map, they're the ones who rewrite it in real time. Resilience is not just the ability to take a hit, it's the ability to rise and adjust. Edison didn't just keep trying the same filament over and over, he tested thousands of materials until one worked. Ford didn't just keep making the same car, he refined the assembly line until it changed the world. Disney didn't keep pitching the same failed ideas, he reimagined the entire concept of entertainment. That's the truth: persistence without adaptability is just stubbornness. Real persistence learns, bends, and grows stronger with every obstacle. And here's the part that most people miss. The pain you carry now will one day be the very thing that makes you unshakable. Every sleepless night, every rejection, every moment you thought about quitting but didn't, that is your training. Life is not punishing you. Life is preparing you. Look at the seed. Before it can grow, it must first be buried in the dark. It must crack open, split apart, and push through the soil before it ever sees the light. If the seed could feel, it would think it was dying, but in truth, it was being reborn. That's you. Right now, in the struggle, in the darkness, you are not breaking down. You are breaking open. The pressure you feel is shaping you for the day you will break through. And when that day comes, when the miracle finally arrives, you will look back and see that it was never just about the reward. It was about the transformation. The gold you find will not just be in your hands, it will be in your heart, your mind, your spirit. You will have become someone who can hold it without fear, without apology, without hesitation. This is why you cannot quit. Not when it's hard. Not when you're tired. Not when the world tells you it's over. Because here's the unshakable truth. Your miracle is already on its way. It's being built in the shadows. It's growing beneath the surface. And if you turn back now, you'll never see the light that was about to break over the horizon. So when the weight feels unbearable, carry it anyway. When the silence feels endless, keep speaking your vision into existence. When the path feels lost, keep walking until the way reveals itself. Because the day will come when the doors swing open, when the reward bursts into your life, when the vision in your mind becomes the reality in your hands. And in that moment, every tear, every scar, every lonely mile will make sense. And you will know, with a certainty that can never be taken from you, that you stood in the place where most people quit. And you kept going until the miracle happened.